Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and the push for global mandatory vaccines is not just on the near horizon anymore, it's breaking in our front door. And again, I was called crazy for many years for predicting this, and once again, the conspiracy theories are right. I think we should be calling out the coincidence theorists. As this New York Post article said, that many of you probably have seen at this point, it says Ticketmaster exploring negative COVID-19 test or vaccination to attend concerts. And of course, that'll probably be attached to some vaccine ID connected to social credit like we see in China. And we'll get into all of that later. But first, I do want to just strictly point out some of the major news stories that we're witnessing here because they are crazy. As this article says, how COVID-19 vaccine could change travel for good. And it'll completely throw travel on its head. In the CNN article, they talk about, the Pfizer vaccine that they say is 90% effective, even though they've been sued for fraudulent marketing claims more than any other company, I think, in the world. And they talk about how it won't just be something that's recommended, it'll be mandatory to travel. And of course, we have this article out of Balkan Insight. I just came from Montenegro. I'm currently in Egypt, living here in Cairo, and it's this Serbia's front, back door. It's right next to Montenegro, and it says Serbia eyes changing law to make COVID-19 vaccine compulsory, which I would like to see how that goes down with Serbians, who are some of the strongest, toughest people in the world and have been through communism and don't want to see it happen there again. As this article says out of National Geographic, which I mentioned before, COVID-19 vaccines could become mandatory. Here's how it might work. After a COVID-19 vaccine is available, you may need to be inoculated to go to the office, attend a sporting event, or even get a seat at a restaurant. What have I been saying for years, my friends, and especially this year with everything culminating? It was a no-brainer that this would happen. We have this article out of Zero Hedge that says 70% of Americans unlikely to travel for holidays as the U.S. faces second virus wave. Now, it's not as much about the second wave. It's about the restrictions on travel. There are some people that are scared, but I bet you that the amount of people that aren't going to be willing to get this vaccine are even more so than the people that aren't traveling because they're scared. And the reason I say that, and I'm going to jump to a Twitter post here, is, and I've mentioned this before, from Ben Domenic, I believe, out of Twitter. It says, perhaps the biggest challenge for Biden Harris is going to be turning around the COVID vaccine skepticism they stoked for months. And as it says here, a plummeting share of Americans say they will seek to receive a COVID-19 vaccine once one becomes available. A Stat Harris poll in October showed just 58% of the public would seek a vaccine immediately, down from 69% in mid-August. And I quote, we'll get a vaccine and we'll roll it out, but then we have to get people to take it, said Kritika Kupali, a physician and professor at the Medical University of South Carolina. They have to feel confident in it. And I think that's going to be another big challenge for Biden-Harris camp. And scrolling down here, it says, from last month, while 65% of Black Americans said they would get vaccinated immediately in August, only 43% would do the same now. Now, a bunch of people are saying, oh, you're a liar. This is only because they don't want Trump to be pushing it. They don't support Trump doing it. Well, Trump was in office in August when these people said that they were more likely to get a vaccine, and now it's actually down. So, I mean, how do you explain that? The fact of the matter is, and the reason I bring up the Black community is because Black people have been hit by horrible government conspiracies over the years, and they're prone to be skeptical of what the government says because they've witnessed for themselves in their own communities in many cases. CIA running drugs, trying to destroy communities, push them into dependency so that they can basically keep a modern version of slavery under the guise of stopping slavery. It is called Orwellian doublespeak, and it's very popular these days. I don't know if you have noticed that. Nonetheless, Biden advisors to start meeting with vaccine makers in latest hint of collusion. And they're talking about how they're already talking with all these major heads of these major corporations. No way. Leftists that pretend to be anti-corporation, though I don't even think they pretend that anymore, but nonetheless, they pretend to be anti-corporation, talking with all the top people at all the top corporations. Who would have thunk? And carrying on here, it says, I mean, the fact that this just came out out of the Daily Mail that's Daily Mail, Mail Online. It says official data is exaggerating the risk of COVID and talk of a second wave is misleading. 500 academics tell Boris Johnson an open letter attacking lockdown. Of course, that only hit the news for about a day. It was around the same time as Cuomo said that the change in politics will mean that New York doesn't have to worry about the coronavirus anymore because somehow Biden in Washington is going to change how he extorts everyone and forces them inside and destroys every small business in New York. Carrying on here, just finally, despite this evidence coming out that shows that it's obviously extremely exaggerated, Fauci's new COVID crushing guidance to Americans: do what you're told. Guys, if you haven't gotten it by now that we are watching the biggest fraud in the history of modern humanity play out in front of our eyes, then I really don't know what to tell you at this point. The fact of the matter is, and there is no doubt about it at this point, that they're going to force vaccinate people using a social credit score. And how do they go about that? So they won't say it's forced vaccinations. They won't say you have to get one in your arm. It'll be voluntary, but in the sense that you won't be able to get a bank account, you won't be able to have a job, you won't be able to get a home, you won't be able to go to public places and restaurants, and you won't be able to travel without one. Now they think this is going to save the travel industry. More like it's going to bankrupt everyone. It's going to starve people out, enforcing an ideology, which is fascism. And then at the same time, people will not want to travel because they would have to get a needle in their arm, possibly once a month, in order to do so. The level of tyranny that they're using this bullshit to enforce is astronomical. And the fact that more people aren't doing anything about it is excruciatingly sad to me. The fact that people are watching this happen and the people that are against it are like, oh, this is bad, but for the most part aren't doing anything about it, maybe a protest here and there. And then the people that love government and believe everything the government and the news tells them are literally calling people Nazis for not following their ideology to a T, where they will point a gun at your head and say you have to do as they say, or else you will be pushed out of society or possibly arrested and thrown in jail, as Piers Morgan seems to be insinuating lately in his tweets. And that is Nazism. The fact that fascists are calling other people that disagree with them fascists is Orwellianism. The fact that up is down, left is right, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength, war is peace. Right now we are in full Orwellianism mode, my friends, and it's extremely dangerous. And this is the most important time in modern history. And what you do next will decide whether we're at least somewhat free or forever enslaved under a tyrannical racket that will extort us and suck every last drop of blood out of us. For many years, they have been planning this social credit score. It's called technocracy. Henry Kissinger met with Mao Zedong under Nixon without Nixon's permission, creating an artificial alliance with China for trade, leading into the creation of the Trilateral Commission under Zbigniew Brzezinski, who wrote that he wanted to see a full technocratic superstate worldwide, and propped up China with the Trilateral Commission. And it led into China enforcing social credit scores on people, where if you don't follow what the government says, if you don't respect everything the government says, your credit score goes down and you can't eat at restaurants, you can't do anything. In fact, if your credit score is too low, you can't go on a plane. If it's low but just high enough to get on a plane, they blast high-pitched beeping sounds into your ear to make you uncomfortable and sick feeling. It's evil what they're doing. And I think it was around October of 2019, Bill Gates took part in a thing called what was it called? Sorry, I'm going off cuff here. Event 201, which was also connected to the exercise Dark Winter, which we've gone over before, and Crimson Contagion, which you can look into at the Last American Vagabonds website. They do excellent work breaking that down. People like Whitney Webb, great work over there. And essentially, this was an exercise talking about how they would create some kind of virus that would go worldwide. I believe it was a coronavirus, and how the world governments, many of the people who are currently involved in this simulation that they call a pandemic, were involved in Event 201, and crack down worldwide on travel, on people walking outside, on people opening their business, etc., forcing masks and all sorts of stuff in Event 201. Right after that operation ended, Bill Gates was fighting for the patent for the contact tracing app back in, I think, November of 2019. And around the same time, Dr. Fauci finished his work at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Now, Dr. Fauci heads up the National Institute for Allergies and Infectious Diseases, which got millions and millions and millions of dollars in US government grants to study the coronavirus in bats in Wuhan, China. That was 96% similar to the novel coronavirus. In those studies, one of the number one reasons for doing that study at the Wuhan Institute of Virology with Fauci was in order to study a way to spread coronavirus to humans. Guys, all these people work together. Fauci is funded by Gates. So is the World Health Organization, which is heavily connected to China, headed by Tedros, who was the head of the one of the communist parties of Ethiopia. It's so obvious, it's ridiculous. That's why I say that coincidence theorists should be the ones that are being shamed. No matter what overwhelming evidence they have, they will believe anything that the media tells them, because they want to be comfortable in their slumber and can't imagine that we're living in such Orwellian times. It's a comfort mechanism. And because of it, people like Anne Frank are thrown in concentration camps. People like Stalin rise up. People like Mao rise up. It's the same people, do-gooders, virtue signalers, people who think that the establishment narrative is correct and they must defend it. Those are the people that lead you off to the slaughter. Educate them. Do whatever you can. Stop being scared of being pushed out of social circles for telling the truth. This is the most important moment of your life. The vaccine trials have already caused brain damage and death. Now, maybe they won't cause excessive brain damage in you. They'll probably just cause minor brain damage and make you stupid. It's probably what they're going for. And, unable to have kids and, sterile and stuff like that. And on top of that, monthly, as CNN has been saying, once a month getting this vaccine. It's never been more important for you to reject groupthink physically. Anyways, I really appreciate everyone watching this today. There's a lot more to go into. I'm a little tired. I have to shoot these videos at night because during the day, everyone's asleep in the United States and Canada. So I'm like I went out to the Great Pyramids of Giza today while everyone was in bed in the US and Canada, and waited until people woke up so I can get content out to everyone. So I really appreciate everyone watching. I didn't edit this video. I just did it over Zoom so I can get the video up and not have to worry about editing it, processing it, and doing all that stuff. I got a lot of great edited 4K videos coming up shortly, but nonetheless, I figured this was good enough. We got the information out, and that's the most important part. So make sure to hit the notification bell on BitChute, hit the like button, share on social media. Also find us on LBRY and Odysee, as well as flote.app, flote.app. I'm also on Rumble. I'm also on Parler and all those things. I believe I'm Josh Sigurdson on Parler and World Alternative Media on Rumble. But I'm mostly focusing on BitChute, LBRY/Odysee, and flote.app. I think those are the most important things to be focusing on. And I will be continuing to bring you guys hard-hitting content almost every day. I'm trying my best. I've had a lot that I've had to deal with lately as far as moving into another country. I'm in Africa, and trying to keep myself away from control freaks in Europe and Canada and the US who want to force a needle into my arm. I will defend myself to the death, and that's the way it is. Any free person should. So anyway, I've been really enjoying it in Egypt. People are a lot more open-minded as far as they are not buying the international bullshit. People are not afraid of every shadow. People are just human beings living their life here. And it's an amazing thing to witness. And thank God that I came here, because I came here at the perfect time. As Serbia is calling for forced vaccines, Montenegro would probably follow suit, honestly. And I really love Montenegro, but anyway, make sure to check the links below for GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar. Join our newsletter at www.iamband.com. We also have a Bitcoin address below, which you can find, as well as a CoinTree link, which will show you all our different cryptocurrencies that you can donate to. So I hope you can help us out any way you can. Just $1 or more a month at any of the pledging sites. GoFundMe, we haven't had a donation in almost 2 months. It's actually kind of brutal. We're completely bankrupt. Like, I'm a nomad. I'm living out of a backpack. People might say, oh, you're in Egypt. Oh, you're in Montenegro. I'm saving money by doing that, my friends. So $1 or more a month makes a big difference and makes it possible for us to be able to report the news. And my whole thing is also to preserve my voice on decentralized platforms in a place where I'm not going to be forced vaccinated, because they're going to go for the journalists first. And it's really important to preserve what's happening, preserve the information, and be able to warn future generations of what's happening. I've been unfortunately right about everything I predicted this year, like everything from January when I started calling this out all the way to today. And I wish I was wrong, but nonetheless, we've been pushing hard hitting, facts to the forefront, getting deleted from YouTube, getting deleted from Facebook and all these other sites for doing that. So I really appreciate any of the support you can give us. We're also on Instagram, World Alternative Media. Not that I like Instagram, but it's a good way to post pictures pretty much. And anyway, lots of links below for you guys to check out, and a Teespring store. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.